Hello there everyone, Gamer Ninja here, and welcome to some more Pokemon Showdown. This is some more OU battles, and here's hoping we have a little bit of fun. Now let me turn down my volume so I don't blast my eardrums out. And this was a very fun battle. It involves more prediction, and it was really quite cool. I really enjoyed this one in particular. Anyway, let's get started. So he opens up with an Azumarill, and I let it off with Landorus because my Landorus is Scarfed, and it's a very safe pick. And I know immediately, just judging from, well, just sort of looking at his team, I figured this was probably a Belly Jump set, so I figured I might as well just go for a damage. And then here I switch out into Ferrothorn after he Belly Jumps and he Waterfalls, so he's now down to 5%. So I'm just going to sacrifice Ferrothorn, and there goes a really big threat to my team. Honestly, if he had kept that thing around, I was in trouble. So here it's a Gengar versus Gengar, but I decided to just go for a Shadow Ball. He decides to switch out to Chansey. I fire off a taunt. He predicted me to go into Tyranitar, I suppose. So I decided to substitute out on the switch because I know Chansey can't do anything to me. And he goes back out into Chansey. I use Will-O-Wisp because it's just passive damage. And if he stayed in, Scizor would have literally been completely and utterly screwed. And he goes back out into it, and I predicted him switching out again, so I decided to go for Will-O-Wisp. And so here we have this sort of interesting situation. Now, because of the nerfs to Steel type, Ghost is neutral to Scizor, but at the same time, it's probably a bulkier set, and considering I just basically decided to sub-stall it a little bit to make sure I can get a kill off. And yeah, so this is sort of dull right now, so I apologize for that. He's firing off knockoffs in case I want to switch, which is smart. He's weaving them in and out. And I think it's at this point I decided to just eat the Bullet Punch and just fire off a Shadow Ball. Because I know even if I don't win, it'll kill it off at the end. And he has a red card, and that was a surprise. And so I got switched out to Tyranitar. He goes out into Garchomp. I don't want this thing setting up on me, and I'm pretty sure I can take an Earthquake, or an Outrage in this case. So I just smash it in the face back with an Ice Punch. I ate a lot of damage in return, but Garchomp is a huge threat still, and it's really good to have that gone. Although, admittedly, that could have cost me the game. Here, I had a feeling it would be Charizard Y, but I didn't want to give it a chance to do anything flashy, so I decided to just sack it. Landorus should be able to handle this pretty well. I'm Scarfed, I'm faster, so I just decided to go for a Stone Edge, and I missed. Thank God he didn't stay in. Anyway, Heatran comes in. I know this thing has Toxic, and I know that this Chansey can't touch me at all. So I'm just going to fire off Stealth Rocks to just completely screw over Charizard. And that basically seals the game, because this Gengar can't really touch Heatran very well, especially since I'm specially defensive. So I'm just going to shuffle him out a little bit, get some passive damage going. And basically once Gengar dies, there goes his only chance of winning. And he's down to 14%. He Destiny Bonds here. And I didn't see that coming, but it doesn't matter. Charizard's going to lose half its health on the switch in. Landorus has Stone Edge, do the math. This game's basically done. But this is going to be a two-parter. It was a really fun battle, actually, either way. I had to spend quite a bit of time figuring out what he wanted. And also, Healing Wish on Chansey is pretty cool. But this is going to be a two-parter. Another person in Kungfu Pancham, actually, you can see it in him in the chat, wanted to battle, so I decided to battle him. And that one was actually arguably more interesting, although this was still a very fun battle. The next battle, it was way more interesting, in my opinion. So let's move over here, set this to normal, and let's go. So I opened up with Mew, and this is my, in honor of A-Star, the third team. It's basically a bunch of walls. He fires off Knockoff. I saw that coming, so I just decided to fire off my own Knockoff and knock off the Life Orb, which was nice. But here I noticed that he didn't have Sheer Force, so I'm pretty confident I could take this hit. If he had Sheer Force, I literally would have lost this battle. Let's count how many times that this thing would have killed a Pokemon that I had due to Sheer Force. So I burned this thing because it does have knockoff and that's at least some damage mitigated, and it's passive tick damage, which is really nice. And I predicted he tried apparently to switch moves on me to knock off, which would have been bad. But all in all, I'm sort of in the moment this thing came out, I'm sort of panicking because Mega Gardevoir is a threat. But I sort of took a gamble here. I thought it might be the calm mindset, and my gamble pays off in the form of me getting this thing out of clock. So I go out into Clefable to take one shot from this thing, and this was a mistake, actually. I should have just gone out into Tentacruel. But, fortunately, I do have enough leeway in this team that I can make a mistake like this, and it probably won't cost me the entire game. Stall is very flexible like that. Pointless crit there. Hyper Voice kills me off. Wait. Stall's pretty flexible. Because all your things are so bulky, it doesn't really matter. Here I was very predictable and just went straight for the Flare Blitz. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to Mega Evolve. He hits me with an Earth Power. That hurts a lot, but I know for a fact I can kill this thing back with an Earthquake. I'm basically max attack. I believe I'm max HP. And at this point, I'm sort of scared of that thing. So I finally decided, remember that Poison actually resists Hyper Voice from Gardevoir. So I decided to actually use it. And lo and behold, poor Clefable's sacrifice was in vain. So here we had something kind of interesting happen. I know that these things used to carry Psyshock, so I go out to Gliscor, who has a higher defense. And since Psyshock hits off of the defense, that meant I took very little damage. I fired off Protect just to see if he wanted to stay in. It doesn't matter if he switched or not. Firing off a Toxic because I'm pretty sure I could take anything not named Ice Punch from this thing. And it turns out I'm correct. I believe it's here that I fire off Protect. If he belly jumps, he will lose this thing very quickly. And I do have enough Pokemon that I don't really mind. But it looks like he's the Assault Vest set, which is a very solid set. Anyway, Waterfall's not doing anything, and I was initially calling Tentacruel the worthless member of this team against his, and it is just ripping through him. I mean, he can't do a damn thing to this, apparently. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. I'm glad I didn't immediately sacrifice it. I knew for a fact he wanted to get Stealth Rocks up, so I decided to bring Charizard in before the rocks, or as the rocks went up, and I fired off a Roost. And just to give myself a little bit more bulk. And in hindsight, I probably should have just killed this thing. But it really doesn't matter, because I get a bigger thing out of the way. I fire off the Flare Blitz just to try to get some good damage down. And that's against a Mandibuzz, one of the most physically defensive Pokemon in the game. And I just two-shotted it. Yeah, Mega Charizard X is completely scary. Do not underestimate. So here we had a matchup I was really dreading. I was hoping this wouldn't happen. And he uses Psychic. And again, if he had Sheer Force, I would have lost the Mew right here. And therefore, I would have lost the entire game. Right here. Once again, Sheer Force boosted probably would have killed. So, if you're using a Life Orb Landorus, don't forget to use Sheer Force. That's you miss out on so much damage, and it's really, really nice. So I decided to just fire off a Taunt, just in case he really is the Belly Drum set. And at this point, it's basically Mew against the world. So I'm just basically stalling him out, and this thing will die eventually. It's gonna be interesting. He knocks me off. I don't really mind. I don't have an item. So, yeah. I fire off one final Roost, and that's a dead Azumarill. Hooray for Stall. Anyway, in comes Mega Gardevoir. I don't need Mew anymore, but it still takes the hit very nicely. So I just fire off a knockoff and kill it. In hindsight, probably should have roosted, but it doesn't really matter. I've got this game locked up. Ferrothorn can't touch Gliscor, and I can just taunt and then go out into Meloetta. I could do Tentacruel here, blow away the rocks, fish for a burn, or whatever I want to do. So yeah, that was a very fun game. Now, the reason why this game was a bit more interesting was because how many times he had the game won just because if he had Sheer Force on his Landorus Eye. And honestly, I would love to rematch him sometime. This was a fun battle. We both had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, that's it for this. Shout out to McCharizard and to Kungfu Pancham. Thank you all both for the great battles. I really had a good time. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed as well. And with that, the Gamer Ninja is going to let this video finish up. And I got the burn. And basically, he's just going to scoop right here. Yep, there we go. And with that, I am out of here.